Hi everyone, welcome back to the Triathlon channel, and in today's episode I will be talking about reasons why I suggest cycling outside, getting out on the open road. Now ironically I'm set on a turbo trainer while I'm doing this. However, there's two main reasons for that. One, firstly and most importantly, is I tried it on the road and I was really struggling to try and talk, concentrate on what was going on. So it was just safer to do it indoors. So that's where we are. Secondly, it's because I'm doing a key session on the turbo. So I've got to hit certain power for a certain amount of time. So it's easier to do on the turbo. So turbo definitely has its place. Some will disagree, some might not. However, the actual point of this video is to share with you why I think cycling outside has helped me drastically in my overall performances during races. So if I just rewind back to when I first started, I spent probably 99% of my time on the turbo for a number of different reasons. Mainly because it was more convenient for me, working, having kids, so the times that I had to do it, and also just the weather. Now we're going to talk about, well, I thought of 5 different reasons why cycling outside will help, and there's probably many more, so feel free to comment. I appreciate it if you did. One, for me to learn, but more importantly for others watching, they might pick up on something that I've missed out. So let's get straight into it. Okay, firstly, so when you're on the turbo, and if you are using a turbo regularly, you'll notice, or you'll find that, like me now, I'm not having to change gears. I've got erg mode on, so as long as I keep pedaling, the resistance will change, and I just need to stay consistent. Now, that isn't great if you're on the road, because one, you've got to learn gear selection. What's the best gear for going up, going down, what suits you? So ultimately, number one is learning about gear selection, but the right gear selection for you, because everyone's different. Secondly is handling and being comfortable on the bike. Now what do I mean on this? So handling, again, on the turbo, just static. I can take my hands off quite easily. I can talk to you during this video. I'm not having to worry what's going on around me. But what that means on the other side is, what I'm not being able to do is handle my bike. So that taking corners, going down into TT position, taking corners in the TT position. So all of these things you can't practice on a turbo trainer. But also, we talk about TT positions, is being comfortable in them. So one, you've got to be comfortable in it. Now again, on the turbo trainer, very different if I just, I'm not on my TT bike, so, but if I went down into TT position on my TT bike, then I could just sit there, and albeit not for a great amount of time, but when you're on the road, you've got to take in other factors like the wind, pedestrians, potholes, cars, etc. And that is all stuff you can't train on the turbo, but very important to your overall riding. Now, the next and third point ties in quite nicely with some of the first two, so confidence. So the reason I say this is, one, confidence in your abilities on the bike, but being confident on the road. So again, we talked about other road users, whether they pedestrians, cars, buses, etc., vehicles on the road, potholes. You've got to be confident that you can handle your bike, and be able to confidently approach roundabouts, junctions, etc., and what you're going to do. Because not all races are closed roads. Majority aren't, actually. And even in most Ironmans, there's an element of open road. Not so much in an Ironman, but let's take Outlaw as an example, that I'm doing in a couple of weeks. That's partly closed, so there's an element. But even if they are completely closed, it doesn't always mean cars don't come onto the course. So, and that's happened to many people have been knocked off their bike by cars on a closed road. So confidence in your abilities. Fourth, which ties in again to all those, there's a common link here. They all sort of build on each other, but the elements, you can't practice the elements indoors. And what I mean by that is the rain, the wind, the heat, but more important, how it affects your riding. So the wind, if it's a really windy day, you know, your bike's going to move from side to side, depending on the wheels choice you've got, how deep the rims are, that will have an impact as well. So it's getting used to them, but also getting used to, if you're going into a strong headwind, for an example, that's going to have, and this ties into the fifth one, which is nutrition. We'll touch on that in a minute, but that will have an effect on your overall nutrition plan, because you're having to work a lot harder. Again, sitting on the turbo, you just get comfortable in a position, not having to worry about anything. There's no elements. You've got your waters, your electrolyte drinks. I've got some gels there. It's just all easily accessible. I've got it. I roughly know when I need to take it. So that is number 4. So number 5, we talk about nutrition, and this ties in quite nicely with the handling and the confidence element. So if I touch on the nutrition from a confidence and handling point of view first, is you've got to have your nutrition while on the move. So one, you learn whilst out on the road when's best to have that. And so you're not going to start opening a gel as you're approaching a junction, for an example, where you store it on the bike so it's easily accessible, so that you're not having to move around too much looking for it, taking your eyes off the road, etc. Opening it, consuming it, whilst maintaining that safety element, and without sort of having to slow down and lose all the pace or gains that you've made. So there's that point of view, but also, and like I touched on briefly before, is how much you need. Now, everyone will be different, and the elements play a huge part in this, in terms of how much nutrition and when to take it, etc. And I can do a whole nother video on that if people are interested, in terms of what I've done with my nutrition and how it affects, in terms of how many grams of carbs do I have, etc. per hour, how I do it, how I store it. So these are all things you need to practice, and you can't practice them on the turbo, unfortunately. So if you are like me, I see the benefits, the huge benefit, and I'd much prefer to do 99% of my rides outside. The biggest factor for me is the confidence side. I just don't trust other road users. So one, I get all the benefits of being out there, but I'd rather sit on the turbo and know I've got a full solid session in coming up, not having to start all the time with junctions, traffic lights, stop signs, etc. But more importantly, it's mentally draining, because you're constantly having to be aware of what's going on around you. You can't just concentrate on what you're doing or make a video for you lot. So that's why. So I do prefer the turbo, but 100% believe that because I spent a lot more time outside last season doing more rides on the road, that really helped for all the reasons I've mentioned. So like I say, I probably missed a load more. Appreciate if anyone could add to those. Appreciate your thoughts on what I have added. If you're new into triathlon, this will really help. If you're already in triathlon, you're going to probably be able to share a lot more with me. So as always, thanks for watching. I'll be doing a lot more videos coming in the coming weeks. We're 2 weeks away from race week, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to share tapering, because not everyone's aware of what's involved in that, and because I'll have a lot more time, because I'm tapering, to do videos. So thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Hope it's helped, and I'll see you at the next video.